In 2016, we built an unbeatable operation that changed history. Now, we unveil our next breakthrough. The exclusive Trump 2020 app. This isn't just an app. This is your source for real news, not fake news. Straight from the campaign and the president himself. This is your direct line to give input on key campaign issues. Your portal to register voters. Host MAGA meetups. Your scheduler. Your application on becoming a Trump team leader. Join millions and get a front row seat to our virtual events. Watch Team Trump every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Earn points, get rewarded. Get the presidential photo. Oh, and did we mention this is your personal shopper too? So just to repeat, this isn't just an app. This is your tool to keep America great. Join the army for Trump and download the app today.
Trump campaign is now reaching voters online.
You are seeing the President of the United States. Look at the lines.
You join our movement.
A lot of President Trump supporters here.
Greatest movement in the history of our country. I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And I will never, ever stop. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Team Trump Online. I'm Lara Trump, and tonight we have a very special guest, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Leader McCarthy, we're so excited to get you here. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be with you again, and I really appreciate it.
All right, so small businesses have been really impacted by the coronavirus. Luckily, President Trump's bold leadership has really helped provide economic relief for small businesses through the Paycheck Protection Program, something that Nancy Pelosi joked about withholding funding for as she ate ice cream in front of her very fancy $24,000 refrigerator. You actually started as a small business owner, so I'm sure you can relate to the small business owners who really felt the effects of coronavirus. So I want to ask you, how are Nancy Pelosi's really ridiculous comments basically a slap in the face to the hardworking men and women in this country?
Nancy Pelosi really owes any small business owner an apology for what she has done. And when you study this, and this is why we're so fortunate to have President Trump, and he understands business. I created my first small business when I was 20 years old, right? And there's three lessons I learned. I was the first to work, I was the last to leave, and I was the last to be paid. But almost every decision I made was in my kitchen table, the struggles that you do month to month. And what's happened here is small businesses, we asked them to make a sacrifice for the health of the rest of the country. If they had to shut down their business or just go to takeout, and they're really being hurt by that. But small business employs the majority of everybody in America. And so the challenge here, how can we help them? President Trump, working with the Senate Republicans and the House Republicans, we really came up with a really good idea. It will take 2.5% of your expenses. We'll provide you going through your local bank so you don't have to wait. And when you look at what this program had done, in 14 days, we had processed as many loans as a small business had done in 14 years. That's how successful we were. We saved 30 million jobs. But because it was becoming so successful that we supply you this money, if you use 75% paying your employees, even if they weren't working, paid your rent and paid your utilities, that was a grant. That was all free. So it kept you afloat for that liquidity you needed for those 2 months. Hopefully, then we're opening back up. Well, on April 7th, we said we're going to need more money for this. So the administration asked the House and the Senate, they would just add more money. Don't change the program, add more money. And Nancy Pelosi celebrated by saying no. She went on late night TV, showed that gourmet ice cream. I've never had that. I imagine it's very good. It's very expensive. But what happened was that small business, there was 700,000 more applications in. And they said, we're sorry, we can't process it. There's no more money. And Nancy Pelosi was laughing. And then she held it up for another week. And the interesting part is each week we get our unemployment numbers. There was 4.4 million that week. Nancy owes them all an apology because opened back up today. Luckily, it's in a great need and a great desire. There's successes. I have a small business in my community. It's a private ambulance company. The owner calls me, and her husband had died a few years ago, and she was almost in tears. She said, we have never laid anybody off, but I was on the verge of laying people off until this loan came through. And she said, you don't understand. I could not imagine getting a 911 call and not delivering the service we've always promised people. But that's what's happening while Nancy's laughing. This is a serious matter. And I just had another business. It was just in the LA Times. They've been around since the 1930s. They're shutting down permanently now because they didn't know whether they'd get this loan.
Wow.
And it's damaging. She's hurting life. She's out of touch with the rest of the country.
Well, it's very clear if anybody watched that late night clip of her, exactly where she stands on things. My parents are also small business owners, Kevin, so they appreciate this just like all the other small business owners in the rest of the country. I want to get your thoughts on something. Here's a clip of Speaker Pelosi falsely claiming she supports the Paycheck Protection Program. Listen to this.
Again, we don't have any disagreement about wanting to help small businesses. They would like to say that, but they know that isn't true because we helped shape this program to begin with and are big believers.
I don't know how she says that with a straight face. For all your viewers, I want you to understand what happens in Washington. We have passed 4 different bills to help in this crisis. On the very first one, it was called a supplemental. This was funding for the NIH and CDC, preparing when it was coming, this virus coming at us. We wanted to put a small provision in there that protected 3M, that they could actually sell the public masks and sell the medical community masks that only goes to industrial. The Democrats blocked that. So those were millions of masks we couldn't get to people right away. On the second one, we were able to get it through, but she held it up again. On the third one, she comes in on a Sunday night where Chuck Schumer says everything's perfect, it's bipartisan, and she holds it up for the next week because she wanted to change election law, put in the Green New Deal. She was worried about funding for Planned Parenthood, nothing to deal with coronavirus. And then on April 7th, when we requested more money because we were afraid we'd run out for the small business program because it's so successful, and 2 weeks later, we were correct, it ran out. And how that works is, Leader McConnell went to the Senate. We could pass something with Congress not even there by unanimous consent. He brought one page, just give more money like the administration wants. The Democrats actually sent Democrats to the chambers to stand up and say they objected. Then when the money ran out, they did the exact same thing again. Nancy has held it up for another week, and this is where I don't believe the media is fair. They should call balls and strikes. She has held up every single provision we have gone through, and every time she's held it up, it's for some personal philosophical view. And it's not just her. Think about this. Her number 3 member, the majority whip, Clyburn, when the coronavirus first started coming and showing, he told his entire conference, this is an opportunity for us to restructure government in our view. Congresswoman Jayapal, she tweeted when Nancy Pelosi finally relented and let us move forward the small business money, and she said, that was a mistake. We should hold our leverage to get more of what we want. And then if you watch the Congresswoman AOC, when the oil price dropped to no one in the world seeing before, she said she loved that because thousands of Americans were going to lose their job. So it's not just the Speaker Pelosi itself. It's almost the entire wing of Democrats. That's why really for this country to rebuild and be successful, we need your father-in-law, President Trump, reelected. He proved he could make the strongest economy in the world, but he needs a team in Congress that will work with him, not just focusing their time on investigation, impeachment, and ice cream. Let's focus and put people before politics.
You would think that would be an obvious thing, but obviously the Democrats have missed the memo on that. You bring up a good point, though. We do need President Trump, Kevin, for 4 more years. In fact, the president's pro-growth policies actually stand in stark contrast with Joe Biden's economic plan. Biden's radical ideas would increase taxes on the middle class, not to mention his coronavirus relief plan included funding for the $1 trillion Green New Deal, which he just talked about. So why would Joe Biden's economic plan for the United States absolutely destroy the middle class?
It would make our country less strong. I mean, think about for a moment what he wants to do. He wants to raise taxes. Everything even Democrats complained about Bernie Sanders, he has agreed with. I mean, he said he'd raise your taxes. He said he'd support the Green New Deal. He's in part for universal health care. All the challenges we have today, we would fail at. And when you think for a moment, the two questions that's really going to be in the voters' mind come November, where is China? And where are we of who's the best to rebuild the economy? And think for one moment. If you look at both the two men who are running for president's lives, you look at what President Trump has accomplished before he was president, but he was talking about what China was doing, not just to America, but to the world. He was warning us even before he was a candidate. Then he was a candidate. Then as a president, he started making those changes. Remember, when President Trump made that decision, January 31st, not to allow those planes from China to come into America, it took Biden 2 more months before he agreed to that. Nancy Pelosi criticized him. Joe Biden criticized him. Almost a month later, February 24th, Nancy Pelosi was inviting everybody to come down together into Chinatown in San Francisco. At the same time, President Trump, on January 31st, said stop those flights. The Democrats moved a bill on the floor. They stopped it right before it came, a no ban, to weaken his ability to do that to protect Americans. Yeah. So who's best to protect you? We can never put ourselves in this place again to allow China supply chains. Remember why we are hunkered down where we are today. It's because of a virus we did not invite, we did not welcome, coming from a distant land that lied to us. President Trump requested that our scientists, our doctors go into China. And we could have contained it right there in China, just like we did Ebola and everything else. But President Xi lied to the world. And the same time that President Trump was stopping those flights, the WHO, the World Health Organization, but I think the leadership acts like the Wuhan Health Organization, told us that it did not contact person to person. I mean, the president went against what the World Health Organization was actually telling him at the time. Thank God that he did that. So we need somebody that can be strong against China. President Trump had proved that. Joe Biden has been in their back pocket, not just Joe, his son as well. And then think about an economy. You can measure that economy compared to Obama's, to President Trump's, the strongest economy we ever had in American history. And it didn't reach one element, it reached everybody. It didn't matter if you were African American, Hispanic, white, Asian. Unemployment was the greatest. And we'll get back to that because the economy didn't take us here. A virus did. Southampton did a study. Had President Xi not lied to the world, 95% of this never would have happened. So what is the best leadership to give us strength against China? It's clear beyond a doubt, President Trump. And what is the best to rebuild an economy? That is even easier, that it is President Trump that'll take us right back to a strong economy. That's why we need to work together, because we know the media is against him. We know Nancy Pelosi is going to do everything in her power, as she watched with every single bill, to hold it up, which harms the economy, makes it more difficult. But I've watched this president never stop working. He's in Washington working where Congress is not. We're essential. I sent Nancy Pelosi a letter last week. Let's get back to work.
Well, she was busy eating ice cream, so maybe she missed that. Stay right there, Leader McCarthy. We're going to be right back with more Team Trump Online. You stay right there, too.
We turn now to that $350 billion fund to help small businesses and its workers get through the shutdown.
It will be up to Congress to restock it.
But Democrats blocking that move this morning.
They asked for $250 billion in 48 hours. I said, well, I don't think so. They objected, and I congratulate the Senate Democrats.
Speaker Pelosi, what are you going to share with us from your home?
Chocolate candy.
Thousands have been forced to wait for hours at food banks all across the country.
This is chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. We just got it restocked with the ice cream.
You don't want to eat up everything all at one time.
I can't do it much longer. I'm trying so hard.
We were, shall we say, enjoying.
Having to admit that, yeah, we're starving, and
I like it better than anything else.
Taping this segment, there are 22 million people out of work.
This specific program is about stopping job losses today.
This is hurting people bad.
Other people in our family go for some other flavors, but
right now it's survival mode. You don't know where that next something else is going to come from.
I don't know what I would have done if ice cream were not invented. I just wonder.
All right, welcome back to Team Trump Online. I'm Lara Trump, and with me today is House Leader Kevin McCarthy. Leader McCarthy, you've been a strong defender of President Trump since the very beginning. I want to say thank you so much for that. Throughout coronavirus, Nancy Pelosi has shown us that she, nor any leading Democrat, can relate to the American worker. This shows us more than anything that we need a change in leadership in the House. President Trump needs strong allies just like you in Congress to bring back that booming economy you were just discussing. So what do stronger allies for President Trump in Congress actually mean for America?
It means a stronger America. It means putting people before politics. It's not about spending all your time investigating. It's about spending all your time investing in the next generation and helping us grow. It's working with the president, not just against him all the time. And that's what we need. And a lot of people think it's impossible to achieve. It's simply 18 seats, fewer than what the Democrats had to win the majority. President Trump had carried 30 seats that Democrats currently sit in. So not only we want to reelect this president, but reelect a team that can help carry out and make this country strong again, just like we were before. And what's interesting, and when I look out there and I look at, do we have the candidates to do it? A lot of people try to criticize the Republican Party like we don't have enough women. The most women we've ever had run for Congress as Republican is 143. We have more than 246 now. Because this president brings women together. We have more veterans, more minorities ever than running for the Republican Party. We have more candidates at any given time of where we're going. But what we really need is, especially with all your listeners and viewers, go to takethehouse.com. Look at those candidates. Help them move to the other place. Otherwise, Nancy Pelosi will still be Speaker. We'll reelect this president, but Nancy will spend her time just investigating instead of putting the country before all the politics she cares most about.
Yeah, and we know, Kevin, that it is going to be so much easier for this president to get things done if he's got both a House and Senate that are going to work alongside him instead of, to your point, trying to block everything that he does because they're playing politics the whole time. You were out in Iowa with us whenever we first kicked off the Iowa caucuses, really the start of the campaign season. But I want to ask you, you really do have a very unique position as minority leader. So from now until November, what are you doing to help the president get reelected and, of course, to win back the House?
We're doing everything possible. First, you got to get the message out. You got to get the resources to the president so he can carry out the message, because he's not going to get the message out through CNN and others. It's just the falsities of what they say, the truth we need to make happen. You need to tell your friends, but we got to get more engaged. And there's going to be new obstacles, right? We'll get through this virus together. We'll defeat it together. But that means we're going to have to campaign a little differently. Kind of what you're doing, and you do an amazing job with this. And when we were in Iowa and we were in New Hampshire, we set new records for Republicans or Democrats to be reelected as president. But we also need that team. We need to be united, not just on the president, but actually carry the House for this president. TakeTheHouse.com makes it happen. We recruited the candidates. Right now, we're spending a lot of time trying to make sure we get the right legislation, make sure the Democrats aren't trying to spend the time with the coronavirus to restructure government into the liberal views, like changing election law, putting in the Green New Deal. This is an opportunity to show the strength of this country, that together, from a public-private partnership, Republican, Democrats, independents, that's what I love about this president. You spend any time with him, it's not about party, it's about country. And I've sat and watched him. A Democrat will come in, a state elected official will say, you were right about this virus. You did the right things. You actually saved my life. And the Democrats want to censure that person. Or another Democrat stands up and says, I'm going to support you because you changed the direction of this nation. You made it stronger. You made it better for my children and the next generation. And now they want him to resign. We cannot allow that to happen. We need to bound together, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, and actually do what is right. Help this president lead this nation as he's doing day in and day out. I've never seen somebody with such energy. And he loves his job, right? He's given up a great deal for this job, but he does not care because he loves this country.
Yeah,
it's everywhere he goes.
It's always been about the country, Kevin. I mean, since before he decided to run for president, he has always said, I will always do the right thing, no matter how politically advantageous it is. We see that every single day with him. He's always putting America and Americans first and making sure that this country is headed in the right direction for every single American. I want to get back to Joe Biden really quickly. Joe Biden has shown us many times that his top interest is not for the betterment of the United States. His long record of having a very cozy relationship with China, his son Hunter's overseas business deals while he was vice president, and his daily gaffes, Kevin, show us that he is not fit to be president. How could Americans trust someone like Joe Biden to lead our country when he spends so much time siding with China, and many times he doesn't even remember what position he's running for, Kevin?
Being president is a very difficult job. We need somebody who has the strength to be able to do it, who could stand up for the American values. Joe is hiding in a basement. And now he can't even go on TV from the basement because every 5 minutes he makes a gaffe.
I know.
He's not quite sure where he's at times. But what's worse about it is the one thing he does remember, that he will always do what China asks. And now he's trying to change the history that he has a long history of. From China giving billions of dollars to his son, to his own family benefiting from his weakness, from 8 years as being vice president, standing with President Obama and never standing up to China, allowing them to lie to us. This is one of the first presidents in modern history, President Trump, that has stood up to China. That China respects because they know what he says is what he means.
Yep. And by the way, that message is translated across the world because this president makes sure that everybody all across the world knows that. Kevin, I want to say thank you so much for your time today. I know it's a unique situation, quarantined all across this country. If there's a message that you'd like to leave the American people with tonight, what would you like to let them know?
Well, you're in New York and I'm in California. We are one nation. As I said, we didn't invite this virus, but we will defeat it together, and we need to work together. Put politics aside. We have faced so many challenges as this nation, but remember one thing, we are Americans. Not only will we overcome this, we will help the rest of the world overcome this too. The ingenuity of this country, look at what we're doing on testing now. You add up all the major countries. We have tested more than all of them combined. You look at the innovation from the new style of testing. We're already into a trial when it comes to a vaccine. We're looking at our antibodies. We will get there. Let's stay together, work together. And you know what? The next century will be ours, and it will be the next generation's century as well.
Perfectly said. Well, Kevin, thank you again for joining us all the way from California. We wish you and your family good health and stay safe during this time.
You too. Stay safe. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to you all as well for tuning in tonight. We need you to get involved with this fight for 4 more years of President Trump. Be sure to download the Trump 2020 app from the App Store on your iPhone and on Android from the Google Play Store. You can sign up to volunteer, make voter phone calls, register for online events, and earn exclusive prizes. Thank you from all of us here at Team Trump. Have a great night.
In 2016, we built an unbeatable operation that changed history. Now, we unveil our next breakthrough. The exclusive Trump 2020 app. This isn't just an app. This is your source for real news, not fake news. Straight from the campaign and the president himself. This is your direct line to give input on key campaign issues. Your portal to register voters. Host MAGA meetups. Your scheduler. Your application on becoming a Trump team leader. Join millions and get a front row seat to our virtual events. Watch Team Trump every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Earn points, get rewarded, get the presidential photo. Oh, and did we mention, this is your personal shopper too? So just to repeat, this isn't just an app. This is your tool to keep America great. Join the army for Trump and download the app today.